Oh, fine, restart. Anna, call roll, please.
Thank you. Vincent, Harry, Charnas, Klein,
Here.
Silver,
Here.
Kurland,
Here.
Duber.
Here. I'll make a motion to authorize the expenditure not to exceed $27,000 for the installation of 4 security cameras at the Orange Village Park and Playground. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. I don't know, is it Mr. Zugan, Chief Stura, anyone?
Zukin will
Mayor.
explain it to you. This is something we've been moving towards for a number of years, so we have eyes on the new restroom and on the playground area and its surface. And Bob, you want to say anything more technical than I just did?
I wish I could, but I'm not that techy when it comes to IT stuff. I thought maybe Nick was here, but you know, we've had discussions, the administration, about adding more security to our park, specifically being able to track cars coming in and out, seeing you know, what might be going on around the exterior of the bathroom and sort of what goes on around our playground. So IT was out. They looked at what it would take to get that security system there. So they plan on putting cameras on the front of the bathroom, on the rear of the bathroom, and looking at putting a pole coming down the driveway. I know the cameras are a little better quality because if Chief Castor wants to add something, we felt that we needed to be able to actually have clear, definitive video of people coming in and out, so they can make out mixing models of cars and specifically, you know, license plate numbers and stuff like that. So these are better quality, pan, zoom, and stuff like that. That's about the best I can tell you. As far as that, the quotation has all the peripheral and all the connectivity and everything they need to get a camera system going. This will require some work by the service department to get it completed, though.
Hopefully everybody got in their packets the details and the outline of what the proposal is.
Yes.
Does everyone have that where it says it's 4 cameras to be installed, 2 by the, everybody have that?
Yep.
Yes.
The program.
All right. Anything else to add? Anybody have questions?
Just want it in before we need it.
Has there been anything that,
Nothing.
okay. All right, Anna, if you call roll, please.
Klein,
Yes.
Silver,
Yes.
Kurland,
Yes.
Duber.
Yes. I will make a motion to approve the special council meeting minutes of May 4th, 2022.
I'll second.
Thank you. Anybody have any comments? Nope. Okay. Then if you call roll, please.
Oh, shoot, sorry.
Yeah, you're muted. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Right, that's what I was trying to unmute him. But see, wait. He's
I'm on a
somewhere
second, I
else.
went onto a second device. So
But, yeah, but we hear you twice, so.
I know I'm gonna close this one and stay on the other one.
Okay.
It's
Okay,
magic.
there you go. Klein,
Yes.
Silver,
Yes.
Kurland,
Yes.
Duber.
Yes. I'll make a motion to approve the council meeting minutes of May 11th, 2022. Is there a second?
Sure.
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Anybody have any comments?
I only have one. I think it was from that meeting about the fire department. It wasn't, it's an enunciator that was bad.
What's that?
On the note that was my comment for the meeting minutes.
Just shout out to the safety forces.
Yes.
Who's effective? Oh,
it's a.
Enunciator.
It was a defective enunciator, it was an effective alarm unit.
Okay.
Not that that's a big deal, but that's.
No, yeah, they can make that change.
Any other comments? All right. If you would call roll, please.
Klein,
Yes,
Silver,
Yes.
Kurland,
yes,
Stuber.
Yes. Make a motion to approve the treasurer's report for March 2022. Second, anyone?
I'll second.
Thank you. Hi, Dana.
Good evening. How are you all?
Good.
You have the March cash account summary, which shows our bank accounts having a balance of $12,960,857.13. Our summary for the month of March is showing March revenues for all funds, $2,881,250.58. And March expenditures for all funds are $808,557.45. Fund 209 is the Pinecrest TIF fund. You'll see that there is a revenue of just $1,000,008, but there's no expenditures. The expenditures you'll see in a future month. We had a little bit of back and forth with the county with regards to the figures, so we didn't distribute the monies in March until we could get that straightened out. And then you have the revenue and expenditure report. Because it's a quarter end, we're showing all funds. You'll see our total revenue in the general fund is slightly larger than our 25%, which is 1/4 of the way through the year. I made a notation of any variances that were higher, significantly higher than the 25%. Primarily, they're all timing differences, basically us paying annual payments for the year, and those variances will smooth out as we move forward. And yeah, like street construction, maintenance, repair has timing differences as a result of salt, and pretty much that's it. I think if you look at the last page, we're looking pretty good for March. All revenues are at 24% and our expenditures are at 10% for the quarter ended March 31st.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments for Dana? All right. If you would call roll, please then.
Klein,
yes,
Silver,
Yes.
Kurland. She's muted. You're muted.
yes,
Stuber.
Yes. I'll make a motion to approve the tax administrator's report for March 2022. Is there a second?
second,
Thank you. Dana.
You have the tax administrative report for March that shows for the month of March, all of our sources of revenue gross collections was almost $332,000 compared to March of 2021. We're about $4,800 higher. Our year to date, we're showing that we're $154,572.84 higher than where we were through March of last year. You have our gross tax monthly chart in front of you, and then the monthly income tax cumulative revenue report is now a line graph that was at a request of the Finance Committee, showing where we are for each points of the month for 2019 through 2022.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Dana? Of course not, so thorough. Thanks, Dana. Anna, if you could roll, please.
Klein,
yes,
Silver,
Yes.
Kurland,
yes,
Stuber.
Yes. Moving on to audience comments relating to agenda items. Is there anybody who would like to speak? Okay, if not, moving on to old business. Ordinance 2022-5, and ordinance accepting for maintenance the improvements within the right of way Lake Placid Court, which constitutes phase 6 of the Lakes of Orange subdivision development, is on for second reading.
It hasn't gone through planning and zoning yet.
Yeah, it hasn't come to us yet.
You referred it after first, but it's
Right.
not ready. So it'll stop here until it's ready.
Okay. I assume there's no other comments on that then. So let's move on to new business, ordinance 2022-8, an ordinance amending section 143.01 of the codified ordinances of Orange Village to change the composition of the police department, declaring an emergency. This is on for first reading.
If it's okay with the council, either this week or next week, administration would ask to suspend the rules. We are in the process of interviewing. And we cannot bring anyone to you to hire until this ordinance is in effect.
I don't think we can suspend the rules today because I don't think we have enough people. Is that right, Steve?
Oh,
Can
you,
you
right,
five?
you can't,
Right, you cannot.
right.
So,
Okay, next week if we can.
yeah, so the difference here, just for everybody, it's adding how many, Mayor?
We're going from a maximum of 18 to a maximum of 22. This is to give us breathing room for the next number of years, this 5-10 year horizon. And it's raising the number of part-times. Help me out, Chris, I can't remember. To 8? Well, Zugan is saying yes.
Dugan's answering the question.
And the makeup of the number of officers right now is it can be up to 4 sergeants and 2 lieutenants, but not more than 5. And now it would be 3 lieutenants and 5 sergeants, not more than 7. I think I got that right.
Almost. It was 6 and 7 and 5 and 7.
So it's adding a sergeant, adding a lieutenant? Sorry,
It's the
One or
ability
the
to,
other, not both.
ability to. Is this enough, do we? I mean, if we're talking long term, I guess my question is there any reason, like why have the cap there? Just out of curiosity.
because we're used to working with a cap. If you want to raise it higher, we're happy. We
Oh, no, I'm not
can-
saying that has to be like ridiculous, but instead of always coming back to council,
Well, we
it's
still
a-
have to come back for you to hire, but you're right. We'd have to come back to amend the ordinance after 4 more full-time hires. Yeah.
and
Do
just
we have
with-
to have a cap legally?
Steve?
No, you don't have to have a cap. You've had that in place, probably going back to the days where you were a statutory village where council establishes the composition of its departments. It's in your charter that's council's responsibility to make that determination. So, I suppose you could open it wide open and
I'm
they
not
would-
saying it even has to be wide open. I don't know if it just is easier for Chief Stir and whoever, if the cap isn't just incremental like that, if it's just a little bit higher, I don't know what our needs are gonna be in a week versus
We'll take more breathing room.
3 years.
Want to go to 26, 25? That would be great.
I mean,
25 is the ideal number,
so why don't we do that?
Yeah.
but I don't necessarily mean to hire 25 at this time, but as we go further,
Well,
25 is gonna be a very.
Right, but
solid-
then
It needs to
it's
give you the
like, what,
flexibility.
then if there's a need or something like that, we can,
One step
windows
short
again.
faster. Mhm.
so then I
Is
would
there-
recommend if,
Along with that, Brandon, can I interject a question here? Along with that, you have these numbers in here for officers and sergeants. Is there a reason that we establish what those numbers are? Would that make more sense to give you more flexibility in those as well?
It's tradition.
Well, it's not, but it's still operations. Right now, we have 4 sergeants in charge of 4 shifts,
Right.
2 lieutenants with their responsibilities. At some point in time, particularly if we go to a second full-time detective, it's pretty helpful to have a sergeant in the detective bureau. So, and it can be a sergeant or a lieutenant at that time, depending on our composition.
and there probably won't be a need to add too many more of those, though.
That's
because
correct.
It's all shift based and stuff, so.
That's correct.
So that's probably okay to leave as is, how it's currently written.
Well, as amended, as before you. Mhm.
No, yeah, I'm saying, that's what I'm saying, as is and in how the ordinance currently is. But, so really the only change would be to add up to, your recommendation, Chief, is 25?
25 would be the optimal number. I don't know that we're gonna hit that anytime soon, but yes, that would be,
Okay,
Very,
what about part-timers?
the part-timers, that part of it is nice because that's fluctuating and can help out in times of need. If we lose
Is that
somebody,
enough?
I'm sorry?
Is that
That- oh,
enough?
that would- Yes, that would be enough.
That's your ideal? Okay. All right, so then, Steve, if we don't need to make a motion to change this, right?
Right, we can have it done administratively and
Yeah.
bring it to you next week. It'll show up as amended.
Yeah, so why don't we do that?
Thank you.
You are increasing the officer, the gold badge 1, right?
They're keeping it the way we submitted it.
Right, okay, that's right.
Yeah, but just adding another 3 full-timers on top of what is currently in the ordinance as amended.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay. Does anybody else have any comments on that?
Again, we don't get to that number without each one coming before council, but it gives us some planning room.
No reason I don't see not to do that. All right. Moving on to ordinance 2022-9 and ordinance amending chapter 1377 comprehensive stormwater management, other codified ordinances of Orange Village and repealing certain ordinances. This is on for first reading. Mr. Zugan, Mr. Mater, you want to?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, this ordinance, along with the next two, is just bringing our ordinances in compliance with the MS4, Ohio EPA MS4 community, which we are. Every 5 years, they redo their general permit. The ordinances just get tweaked to come in line with the new requirements that we are required to follow. So.
and these come from our watershed partners, Chagrin River Watershed, that were.
Yeah, they draw up the model ordinances and then we go through them.
Brian, I'm not sure whether that was, to what extent were you involved in drafting of these documents?
Well, I take the model ordinances and then go through them and compare them into the villages.
Okay.
For the most part, there's not much to change. Again, because they have to be in compliance with the general permit, which, as an MS4 community, we're required to follow. So there's a lot of people involved in drafting that model ordinances, not just the stormwater. They're just one of the branches that put it together.
But I have a recommendation, and I think it's appropriate. When we created the Orange Goes Green certification program, we baked into it stormwater management guidelines. And there are a few of them that add some elements to this that I think are worthwhile. It would be, I think, altogether appropriate to carry some of those guidelines over into this ordinance insofar as we're updating it. And if you and I want to talk offline as to what some of those are, how they might be added into the zoning or the ordinance that we're going to pass here, I think it'd be great to do that.
Yeah, as long as, again, these are basically our minimums that everybody has to follow. But if there's more restrictive things that the village wants, you can definitely add it into.
In looking at it and some of the things that I was just comparing on it, they're not necessarily more restrictive, but they offer some greater aspirations relative to maintaining some of our stormwater management and water quality and storm sewer and slope maintenance and some other things that I think are worth
well,
incorporating.
why do they have to be codified?
Well, because right now they just sit in the Orange Goes Green certification program.
So they
part
add
of it.
additional regulations to what we have in our code?
That's where I would be concerned about, that we're
Right.
adding additional items into a code of an ordinance, which this is meeting EPA requirements. So now it would become a requirement instead of a suggestion, and tying in the Orange Goes Green
Well,
into a EPA code.
in
sounds
reading
dangerous.
the ordinance, there is, a lot of aspirational discussion as to what the intent of the ordinance is and what I'm suggesting adding into it. And it's a conversation that we can have, are some of those areas of objectives and goals for what this ordinance will do. And it adds an overlay that directly goes to the Orange Goes Green certification program. It doesn't create additional standards or regulations. It adds additional aspirations to the objectives of why we're doing this.
I talked to Brian offline.
I will talk to Brian offline on it.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, like I said, what we have in these things are basically your requirements for all this. So if we want to add things in that aren't going to be a requirement, we have to make sure that we put it in such a manner, some way or another.
They aren't going to going back to the mantra of the development of the Orange Goes Green certification program was that it wasn't to be burdensome. And we spent a lot of time thinking and developing some of the language of that document. And I think it's an altogether appropriate where we are now bringing something into regulation that some of that might want to influence the thinking around these regulations that are being promulgated now.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it and go through it.
Very good.
Yep.
Good enough. This is first reading anyways, so thanks, Brian.
Yep.
You. Any other comments on that? No. Right. Moving on to ordinance 2022-10, an ordinance amending chapter 1378 of the codified ordinances of Orange Village applicable to erosion and sediment control and repealing certain ordinances. This is not for first reading.
Same discussion.
Yep. Ordinance 2022-11, ordinance renaming and amending chapter 914 of the codified ordinances of Orange Village applicable to storm sewer system regulations, repealing certain ordinances. This is not for first reading.
Same discussion.
Ordinance 2022-12, an ordinance levying special assessments for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, improving, installing, equipping, operating, and maintaining a recreational trail within the village. This is on for first reading. Not the same.
Price?
discussion.
Price should say something.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. This is the final piece of legislation in connection with the trail assessment that was part of the very original development agreement for Pinecrest. And obviously the work has been completed and it is time to begin the assessment process. We're also in the process of authorizing the sale of bonds. We've been in notes for during construction and will be now selling bonds for the amortization of the project costs. So this is the final piece of a multi-step assessment process.
Great. Anybody have questions for Mr. Finley?
Remember, the total amount will be the 5 million of construction plus the additional amount that were finance related soft costs that were on top of the 5 million.
Cool. All right, moving on to ordinance 2022-13, authorizing the issuance of bonds in the amount of not to exceed 5,525,000 in anticipation of the levy and collection of special assessments for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, installing, equipping, and improving a recreational trail within Orange Village, together with all necessary and proper appurtenances, authorizing and approving related matters and declaring emergency. It's not for first reading. Same discussion. Anything further on this at all? Anyone?
Matt?
So following up Price Finley's comments, this is of course prescribed by the Ohio Revised Code. We provide an opportunity for anyone who is going to be assessed the opportunity to pay their assessment in cash. Anyone, we don't necessarily expect anyone to do that, but should they choose to do that, that is that's luxury provided by the Revised Code, and they have 30 days to do that. After that cash payment period expires, which will be 30 days, presumably from the passage of the assessing ordinance, we would proceed with selling bonds for that portion of the project that is not paid for in cash. And we'll do that by way of a 20-year general obligation bond issue that the village will be responsible for issuing. It'll be paid back ideally by all the parcels that are being assessed. But should there be any discrepancy by way of a late payment by the property owner, the village is on the hook to make those payments and will ultimately, it will be resolved by the property owner. But it is a general obligation, special assessment bond issued for 20 years, and it'll be the net result after the cash payment period is over. Again, we don't expect to see any cash payments. So the bond issue, if you look at the legislation and were to ask the question, what is the difference between the amount in the assessing ordinance and the amount in the bond issue on the sizing? We have provided for some additional cost of issuance, which would be paid by the property owners who decided not to pay in cash. And they'll carry that cost as well in the course of issuing those bonds. So it is, if you looked at those two ordinances or wondering why there's a difference, that is it's for the cost.
It's also all the rolled over interest too, right?
Well, to be clear, that is all built into the assessing ordinance. All the interest expense and the cost of issuance brings us from the 5 million construction cost to the $5,413,000. That's interest expense, cost of issuance, and a small additional amount of legal expense related to the assessing procedures. So that's how we got to the 5,413,000. The 5,525,000 adds in additional hard cost of issuance, bond counsel, underwriter, rating agency, printing, OMAC, myself. That's all included in the sizing of the bond issue. And I'll stop there. This is all intended to go for 3 readings. We're asking council to consider this tonight on first reading.
Matt, who does provides the notification to the parcel owners?
Well, that is the village's responsibility, but we'll have to talk to Brian about that. But upon the passage of the legislation, the 3rd reading, that is the village's responsibility to send certified mail to every parcel owner.
Please make sure you walk Anna through what's required.
Most certainly.
Thank you. Maybe Brian knows, I don't know.
All right. Anybody have a question for Matt? All right. Hey, thanks, Matt.
You're very
Thanks,
welcome.
Bryce.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We're gonna so miss you when this is all done.
Oh, we'll find something else for them to do.
There'll be more. I
don't
believe we've got other
believe that.
things in our future.
All right, moving on to audience comments relating to matters which advance the good of the village. I don't see an audience anymore. Mayor comments?
I do have a few tonight. As you may have heard, and I tried to let you be advised, Pinecrest effectively last Friday, May 27th, implemented their new concierge safety protocol, which basically boils down to no one under 18 is to be at the Pinecrest property after 4 o'clock in the afternoon unless accompanied by a parent or an adult over 25. The first weekend went, I don't want to say spectacularly because that's overstating, what's not really a happy thing, but it went great. It went very well. It was organized. It was well received. Adam was there, waving the people in. He said everyone was thanking him. I have gotten nothing but positive feedback except for one person who has a teenage daughter who is going to have the restriction on her. So she was not happy, but everyone else has been nothing but pleased. And I guess it was executed well with the help of Orange Village policemen, of course.
Can I just say that I have teenage daughters who like to go to Pinecrest with their friends, and it has been an issue that they can't go. I mean, it was Friday night. My daughter's like, I have friends over. Can we walk over there? I said, I'm sorry, you can't. But I mean, I understand the need for it, but it's a bummer.
The bad apples always ruin it for everybody else. That's the story of our lives.
But my only question, and my only issue is the time, the 4 o'clock window. I mean, is there any thoughts maybe pushing that back a little bit, just so
anything's
teenagers could
possible.
Go up there to just pick up some dinner at 5:30, 6 o'clock for themselves. I mean,
well, Brent, this is not our call. This is Adams and their
I know.
call, but I can ask them that this was suggested. You can talk to him. I would imagine they're going to let this settle in and see how it goes. Your kids aren't old enough to drive yet, are they?
No, but I have teenage nieces and I know they're not happy with it just because, you know,
I
if they want to go up
understand.
there at 4:30 and just, you know, do a quick shopping or pick up dinner, they're not able to. And
I think there'll be kinks that they're going to work on, and this feedback might be important to them. But the general objective was achieved.
I was up there Friday night and Saturday night picking up dinner real quick, and it did go smooth getting in. There were no bottlenecks or backups or anything getting in. So, you know, logistically, it was going very smoothly last weekend.
So as you may all recall, when we did the zoning ordinances for Pinecrest, there was quite a bit of discussion in regards to this particular requirement for kids.
No, that was for the movie theater.
That was but it was applied to the movie theater. But now we're seeing that it needs to be more generally applied throughout the development, not just the movie theater.
I think somebody here on council was in favor and pushing for.
I don't remember who that is. Would you like to tell us?
It might have been somebody speaking at the moment.
I have more.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it sucks, but it is what it is. I mean, it's necessary. I assume that there's, you know, rhyme and reason to the 4 o'clock. You know, they're not in the business of turning away profits and stuff. So, you know, obviously, I think that there's reason for it, and hopefully,
they'll keep smoothing. You know, they'll keep massaging it till they.
Yeah. So.
This Friday is Computer Flag and Household Hazardous Waste Collection, 7 to 3 p.m. at the Service Department. Please pay attention to the last e-news if you're interested in the community-wide garage sale, which is at the end of this month, June 25th and 26th. It is time to get planned for that and signed up. Anna was very nice to put this on the marquee sign outside the building, but officially we do congratulate all the seniors in Orange Village that are graduating from their careers at the Orange High School and moving on to represent us in the greater world. And for some of them, come back and report on us as well. Right, Brian? For those who have not seen, the Rating the Suburbs magazine came out yesterday. And I think it is very interesting and gratifying that the 5 out of the top 6 communities were Beechwood, Pepper Pike, Moreland Hills, Orange Village, and Solon. They did throw Rocky River in there as number 2. We were number 5. It's a little bit of a mystery to us because we basically answer the same things every year, but sometimes we're 4th and sometimes we're 12th and sometimes we've been 1st. We've had our turn at 1st, but we're very happy to be up there in the top 6 with all of our neighbors. I think that's an interesting outcome for this year. And we will be talking a lot more about the need for us to have more officers. You'll see that our crime rating was low. I just want to reassure everybody that our police force has done a yeoman's job keeping it out of the neighborhoods and out of the residential neighborhoods. We do have a lot of crime for our village, our size, in the Orange Place district, hotels, restaurants up there, whatnot. We are working behind the scenes to come to council to beef up security in that area, and you will be hearing a lot more about this coming up, but very happy to be in the top 5 of the Cleveland Magazine. That's it.
Thank you. I don't think I really have any comments tonight. Who's here? Mr. Silver.
I noticed one of the hotels on Orange Place got knocked down this week. I assume that's on the Beechwood side.
That's Beechwood Fairfield Inn. It's going to be Penske Porsche Automotive there.
Oh, right. They're moving from Chagrin.
They'll actually be coming to us for approval of their signage.
You know what, John? I'm wondering if they're just going to put the sign on the land that's in Beechwood, because I've not heard another word.
Actually, I had a conversation with Justin Burns, and he told me they were going to be coming to us. So
recently.
Okay,
then you're more updated than I am.
That's all I had.
All right. Ms. Curland.
Hi, don't have much to say. I just do have a question about the orange cone in the storm drains all around my neighborhood, in front of my house.
Doing storm sewer cleaning. We had an outside contractor they were in today and tomorrow wrapping up that project.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Mr. Klein.
Question for Bob Zugan. How is the cleanup going for Woodbrand?
They're done with the two tanks closer to Orangewood. They're in discussion right now. They have that other set of tanks on the north side of the Woodbrand property. They were looking at possibly doing it in the fall. I hear
No.
there's a little bit of noise about them moving it up and getting it done.
I forgot to tell you because you were out of town. Randy called me and asked me about it, and they are trying to get it done and get it out of the way. They get a significant discount, I guess, by the same contractor who's on the premises. And I said, just don't do it without letting us know, letting the residents know. But you're right, they are trying to do it now, sooner.
Perfect. Thanks.
But what they've done is closed up.
Thanks, Bob. Planning Commission has its next meeting next Tuesday. So there's, I think, a number of things on the agenda. The last meeting that took place after our last council meeting was a relatively small agenda with some additions, and that was about it. And they're wrapping up. Pulte is very quickly wrapping up what they've got to build with in the Lakes of Orange. So they're they've done a great job here, and it's amazing watching what's going on over here with all the houses that are going up. And I think that's all I have.
All right, thank you. With that said, I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss the compensation, hiring, and discipline of municipal employees and pending or potential litigation. Is there a second?
Second.
Do we have to invite certain people in?
Steve and Sarah and Chief Costura, and to the media that's here tonight, we will not be coming back into session and other than to adjourn. We will not be taking any more action in the public setting tonight.
All right. I'm sorry, was there a second? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And if you call roll, please.
Klein,
Yes.
Silver,
Yes.
Curlin,
Yes.
Duber.
Yes.
Okay, everyone that's going in executive session, just wait, I'll pull you in there. The rest of you could either sit and, they're not gonna do anything when they get back. but
Yeah,
you're
you
more
can
than
go.
welcome. Okay.
Bye, Brian.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Brian.
I think Chris has to give you a little more background than what you were sent this afternoon.
Did I forget you, Judd? Oh. Okay. There was somebody.